Hello everyone, welcome back again to the NPTEL online certification course on research methodology for planning and architectural studies. In our last two lectures, we have discussed about type of surveys and different type of questions that can be asked, and those questions will be formulated definitely depending on the research need what you want to extract. Today and our next lecture, this lecture number 17 and 18, will be on measurement and scaling technique, which are integral part of a questionnaire. In order to get useful information, in order to get something very relevant that we intend to measure out of the survey, so we have to understand the importance of the measurement and scaling technique. So, with that, we'll discuss this particular aspect in two lectures. First, the very broad one about the broad classification of different type of measurement, and then also different scaling technique that we'll discuss in the part 2 of this particular lecture. So, today we will start lecture number 17, which is measurement and scaling technique. Out of this particular lecture, what we are going to learn? We are going to learn what is measurement scaling, characteristics of measurement scale, common errors in measurement, then different type of validity test, then type of measurement scale, and then we will summarize our understanding. So, what is measurement? If we look at this particular slide, so there are certain kind of clarification on this. So, measurement means assigning numbers or symbols to the characteristics of certain object. So, say if I want to measure a length of a road or width of a road, so we assign certain value. Say if I say the footpath width is 2 meter, so this 2 is going to give you the measurement, and definitely the unit also plays crucial role. Similarly, for any other data collection, we measure it. Either we measure it in a quantitative way, or maybe sometimes it may be a qualitative judgment. Say if I simply ask how satisfied you are with the current weather in your location. So you can say that okay, I am very much comfortable or I am very much satisfied. Depending upon the questions that I'll ask you, you can answer in a qualitative manner. But in that case also we are measuring it in terms of your satisfaction or in terms of your comfort level. Numbers permit statistical analysis of the resulting data that we collect through survey and facilitate the communication of measurement results. The moment we measure it, say for example, if I want to measure the thermal comfort of any indoor space. So, in such cases like all this humidity, temperature, these are different kind of measurements that we measure and then we try to understand. Okay, so this humidity, this temperature, that is going to give you some kind of comfort or discomfort. So, like that we can measure such kind of aspect in other dimensions or in other areas as well. Why it is important? Because finally when you get that measurement, out of that we do the analysis, we can establish certain relationship between the temperature and the comfort level, or maybe temperature and humidity. So all such kind of measurement or the relationship that we hypothesized, that we can measure through this. The assignment of number to the characteristics must be standardized and applied uniformly. This is very important. Like whenever we are going to measure something, that should be standardized. Say if I want to measure the length or the width of a road or length of a particular road or anything, height of a building. So in all such cases there should be a standard way of measuring it, so that the collected information can be compiled very easily. Suppose if I am just going to measure the height in feet and somebody else is going to measure in some other unit, though we can convert it later on, but definitely there would be some kind of transformation error. It may be something, some approximation will be there. So rather it is better to make it standardized and applied uniformly. Say for example, many a times in socio-demographic information that we collect, we also collect information related to gender. So maybe nowadays the we collect the options. So we go for like male, female, transgender, or maybe many a times like we go for others because there are other classification of gender as well. But now say for example, if I want to measure it by certain kind of coding, so here though the male or female, they are not like in that case a numerical data, it is something like a nominal data that we will discuss in this presentation as well. And we also discussed it earlier when we discussed about type of data. But we can assign a number like 1 for male or 2 for female, or maybe it can be anything, like you can assign 0 for male and 1 for female, any value that you can assign. Or else like say for example, you want to assign certain value to the age group. So maybe less than 25 years you assign group number 1, or you assign a number, or maybe 25 to 40, this is group number 2, 40 to 55 3, 55 to 65 4, and above 65 year of age is 5. So in such cases, like definitely this will help to generate the frequency, generate other kind of analysis that we perform. Now coming to scaling. So scaling is an extension of measurement. It involves creating a continuum on which the measurement of objects are located. So we define a particular scale and then we try to measure it. Say for example, if we want to measure the satisfaction level towards existing road width, and the scale is 1 to 5 is used for that purpose, and then the scale indicates the degree of dissatisfaction. Say for example, I am extremely dissatisfied, so I give 1 to that, and 5 I am extremely satisfied. So in between there might be some other scale. It may be like it is defined like 1 to 5, like then we have 2, 3, 4. So here it is like towards negative, that totally dissatisfied or extremely dissatisfied, and in this particular case it is extremely satisfied. In between, many a times if we use that kind of some kind of scale, odd scale, so there would be a mid value which is basically your neutral. So neutral value is also possible. So in this scale we are measuring the information. It is not exactly like a direct measurement of particular temperature, or it is direct measurement of the humidity. It is a measurement in a particular scale. Measurement is actual assignment of a number from 1 to 5 to each of the respondent. Scaling describes the procedure of assigning the numbers to various degree. So that means, let us understand this particular statement. So measurement is the actual number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these are the numbers, right? These are the measurement. If I get response like 2 or 3, I record it. But in the scaling we define what is the meaning of that number, like what to represent. So in this case we may give a name to this particular 2, or maybe we just give a scale where it is like low and this is high, or maybe we can take a scale, this is small, this is large. Like that we can define the scale. So that is why it is mentioned the measurement is the actual assignment of number from 1 to 5. In this particular case, this can be even 1 to 7, 1 to 10, it can be anything, but there are certain kind of argument that what particular number or the range that we should pick up, so that it will be easy for respondent to respond, and then at the same time it will be easy for the researcher to apprehend and then analyze that particular result. And then in that case scaling describe the procedure of assigning numbers to various degree, attitude and other concept. Only thing in that scaling, that each division or each point should be exclusive enough. It should not be ambiguous, like one is saying the same thing what like the two can represent. So 1 and 2 should be distinctly identifiable, so that we can accurately measure the response from the respondent. Moving forward, the characteristics of measurement scale under the head of accuracy and precision. It says the scale should be close to the true value of the attribute being measured. So, that is our idea, that okay, in this case that should be very close to the actual value. The scale should provide the precise and detailed measurement, allowing for fine distinction between different levels. So, there should be some sort of fine distinction between two levels. If the scale is something where you have ambiguity between those kind of numbers or the scale, that will create confusion, even you cannot bring out very clear results out of it. Next is reliability. So, that scale should be reliable. So, in that case the reliability indicates the confidence on one could have in the measurement obtained with the scale. The scale should have that reliability, that it can perfectly measure the phenomena or the intended purpose will be fulfilled through that particular selection of the scale. A good measurement scale produce consistent and stable result over time. So, this is some check, if you design a particular questionnaire in a good scale or reliable scale. So, anytime you conduct the survey with the same scale, you intend to get the same result or the similar result, if it is not exactly same, but it will be the similar result, so that the consistency can be assured. Next is the validity. One is that how consistent the scaling part. Now, whether it is valid for my research purpose or not. If my intent to understand something at certain purpose is to capture certain nominal data. So, for that definitely we cannot use certain measurement scale which fail to measure the nominal data, or rather that is applicable for some other type of data. The scale should measure what is intends to measure. It should accurately reflect the characteristics of the attribute of interest in research, ensuring the measurements are meaningful and relevant, so that my purpose of doing the survey or measuring that particular attribute or any such kind of measurement will be fulfilled. Practicality of measurement scale. In this case definitely there are different viewpoints. One is efficiency, other is accessibility, and then interpretability. So, how efficient it is? It will be definitely it will depend on how easily you design the measurement scale, and then how respondent can perceive it, so that it is very easy to convey, easy to understand, and then so that we can reply accordingly. And definitely that should have some sort of interpretability. So, the interpretation of that particular scale can be maintained. Practicability ensures the economic use with the budget constraint. So, many a times you have to look into the budget of that particular research, and then accordingly you decide the questionnaire, and so as to design the scale, at what scale you are going to measure it. Convenient administration. So, if your selected measurement scale is complex, and if it will take some time for the surveyor to explain it to the respondent, so definitely the time will be lost, right. So, we have to make it convenient, so that your purpose of getting the information will be fulfilled. At the same time, it will not really make the respondent in trouble or put the surveyor in trouble to explain it to the respondent. And also the ease of interpretation for the researcher later on when you have the information. Now, common errors in measurement, one can be from respondent side. So, respondents may hesitate due to reluctance, maybe limited knowledge, unable to get the meaning of that particular scale or survey, or there might be other transient factors at that particular state of mind and all. leading to uncertain responses. Say I am asking some kind of information in certain scale, right? The scale is something maybe on agreement, like typically I will discuss that in the later of this presentation, that say one of the common scale that we use, Likert scale. So this Likert scale is also something where you measure the agreement to a statement. So if there is a statement, so I can strongly agree, I can strongly disagree, or maybe in that case I can also have a neutral value, that where it is average or the neutral value, neutral, I want to be neutral on that particular agreement. So in all such cases, if I fail to understand the question, even if the scale is okay, but if I fail to understand the question, I can tick anywhere without understanding. So that may give you some sort of error in that measurement, or else you just try to use certain sort of scale which is very complex, and then the respondent they do not have that much of idea, or maybe they are not clear about the technicality of that particular scale, so that their response is not assuring that they have understood the question and then answered. So that is another challenge. Situation. Factors like the presence of others can impact the accurate measurement by affecting the relationship, the rapport and the responses. So this is something it have a debate on this. Say for example, I want the respondent to read the questions and answer accordingly. Option 2, that okay, in that case respondent will not answer anything or not fill himself or herself on to the questionnaire. The surveyor will ask the question and then the response will be recorded by the surveyor. So in such cases there might be a biasness, that the surveyor can create some sort of inclination, or there may be some sort of biasness in that particular discussion, or maybe the surveyor push the respondent to fill certain kind of obvious results or something on that or the other. This is one side. The other side, many a times it become essential that there should be a surveyor who can explain those kind of technical questions where respondents they have certain questions on it, so that once it is clear they can give reply in a better way. So in both cases situation can influence that kind of measurement. Next is the measurer who are taking the measurement. Interviewers can influence the responses through questions manipulation. So a question like many a times, like if the interviewer is not very well trained, so in that case maybe you thought of a question to ask in a manner, and the interviewer will just try to bring it in a common word or something, and in that transition, in that particular translation, then there is some kind of dilution of the concept, and that is why probably when you are getting a response, maybe that is not the response that you intend to get out of your questions, you will not get that kind of clarity. So there is another measurement on the side of this particular measurement. Next is the instrument related error, especially where you are relying on some instrument to record. Say for example, I would like to measure the exposure, the noise exposure, or the some kind of PM 2.5 or PM 10 exposure in urban environment. So in such cases there are certain kind of pollution meter, there are certain kind of noise meter available. So if there is certain error, if there is issue with the calibration and it is giving some results, if we do not test it, or maybe in between there is certain issues, so that can also be some sort of measurement error which occurs due to the instrument. So defective measuring instrument with complex language or poor design can lead to measurement error. So for that my suggestion is that if you are using certain kind of measurement tools like certain devices, electronic devices, just go through the manuals, try something with certain test data and all, and then finally you calibrate and then use, because there might be n number of devices available to measure the same thing, but there are certain kind of reports that you need to look into, that which particular device is going to give better accurate results, or maybe where the measurements errors are minimized due to certain kind of input and logic. Now coming to the validity test of the scale, measurement scale, there are 4 types of validity that may be defined as follows. One is the face validity. So in this case it is assess whether the scale appears on surface to measure what intend to measure, that what you want to measure and that is actually coming up. It is not that okay, you wanted to measure certain attribute and during your particular survey you are getting some different kind of information. It involves subjective judgment and preliminary check of a scale appropriateness. So in this case apparently when you do the pilot testing and all, there you should be assured enough that okay, this is a particular measurement scale where there may be some sort of errors which you need to rectify for the full scale survey. Content validity, it ensures that the scale adequately covers the entire content domain for which it was intended. Researchers should involve panel of experts to confirm the relevance and representative of the scale item. So before you really administer the survey, many a times it is a good idea to get it checked with the expert, a panel of expert, that okay, so the measurement scale and the items, they are good enough to capture the information effectively. Next validity test on the line is criteria validity. So measurements on an instrument are compared with external measure, calculating a validity coefficient and correlation. So in this case what we normally do, we assess the criteria validity indicating how well the instrument measures in the intended construct. So say for example that okay, there is some sort of values which are already prescribed, and now in that particular case you use certain instrument and you try to measure the same phenomena. So then the output should match with the established one, so that you can calibrate that okay, under this particular circumstances the values that this instrument is giving is really valid because it is already given in certain sort of established finding that under these circumstances this should be the expected value. Now you have the fourth one, which is construct validity. In this case it examines whether the scale truly measure the theoretical construct or the concept it claims to measure. It involves testing hypotheses related to the scale and assessing the relationship with other variables. So again it is something where already there is some sort of hypothesis existing, you just match it with that, whether your construct design measurement scale is making that validity, which is like referred as a construct validity. Now along with the validity also we need to go for some kind of reliability test of this particular measurement scale, and there are 3 such kind of popular method. One is test retest method. So in this particular technique the measurement scale item is used twice for the same population. So in such cases, like we design a measurement scale, we conduct a survey, and then after some time we conduct the survey again. So if our measurement scale is properly designed, then in both the cases it will give you statistically similar output. So that means we can say the measurement items or the scales, they are reliable. Alternative form method. So in this case 2 equivalent forms of the scale are constructed and are applied on the same population at 2 different times, with a different form being used each time. So in this case not the same questionnaire or same the measurement scale, you just design 2 separate one on the similar principle, and in that case you apply it to the same population, same respondent, and maybe when you say the population, that means whenever you take a sample, that should be a representative sample. So in that case, if you apply it, that should give a similar result. The degree of similarity between two results will determine the reliability of the measurement scale. So this is the way we can do the alternative form method, where we design two different form and then we conducted the survey with the same population. Now the third one is the split half method. In this case, the total scale item are divided into equal halves and two set of scale are administered separately. Then we developed a correlation coefficient to test it, that whether their results are correlated or not. Whenever we get a high positive correlation, that indicates the measurement scale is reliable. So in this case, we are not going for the same scale and applying this survey twice, or it is not the case we design two separate forms like the previous case. Here we are just dividing that particular total scale item into two equal halves and then we try to test it, that okay, this is going to help in that particular result obtained or not. Now for the practicality test, definitely we have to look at the economical perspective, that within that budget what information, bare minimum information that I need for my research, I can collect it, and what should be the measurement scale. It should not be that complex, which will take more time and more cost involved into it to extract the information. It should be convenient both for the researcher to interpret and both for, like, again it is to be convenient for the respondent to response, and interpretable. Definitely that should be something that one can interpret, that what you want to measure, so that one can give the answer accordingly, and also that will help you to do the analysis later on once you collect the information. Now classification of measurement scale. The most widely used classification of measurement scale are nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval scale and ratio scale. If you will have a clear idea about this fourth scale, if you know through this particular lecture and later on you also study little more through those references, if you have a very good grip in all this, then definitely it will help a lot to determine what scale that you require for your own study and how to use it for your research. Now nominal scale, what exactly it is? It is a qualitative scale without order. There is no order, it is just you can say a category that it can mention. The nominal scale involves classification of measured object into various category. So it is a categorical variable, like you can go for a yes, no, or pass, fail, male, female, black, blue, etc., etc., where there is no such kind of measurement and order. In such cases, the nominal scale does not express any values or relationship between the variables. The only statistical operation that can be performed for such kind of case is the frequency count. So suppose if you survey a population, okay, or you just take a sample in a particular city and you survey total 400 sample. Out of that, maybe you get 250, or maybe you can say like 200 male and say 200 female. So in this particular case, what you can only do, that it is some frequency where, like, for out of 400, 200 male and 200 female, they are representing say 50% or 50%. Even for the socio-demographic survey, we have discussed it earlier, that for the age we are not asking the age, actual age, we are asking a age group. So in that same survey of 400 sample, so you find that less than 25 you have 100 respondent, 25 to 40 you have say 200, then 40 to maybe you can say 60 you have say 50, and then above 60 you have 50. So, altogether you have 400, and now you can only derive the frequency. So, in this particular case the frequency will be 25%, 50%, and whenever you have this, so 50 out of 400 sample. So, in that case it is 12.5% and 12.5%. So, that is why also you can create certain kind of frequency of those numbers. In this case we cannot determine an average except the mode. So, we cannot calculate certain sort of average value. So, there should not be any such kind of rule what is the average value of the age group, or whatever the average age group of whatever the average value of male female. So, that is not possible. Moving ahead, ordinal scale, again it is a qualitative scale with order, and in particular case it is refers whether an object has more or less characteristics than some other object. The scale does not measure the values, rather it is only showing the rank order. For example, the rating of hotels, restaurant and services. I give you one example from academic point of view, evaluation exam. So, in particular case, suppose I have person X, Y, Z. In that case, X is having the first position depending on certain CGPA, Y is third and Z is in second position. So, in such cases what is important to measure that first, second or third rank, but there is no such kind of measurement into it, it is just showing particular order. In order to assess something we need extra information, say for example, for first it is 95% marks, and then for third it is 65% marks, and then it is 80% marks. So, out of this first and second, the difference between first and second and third, they may not be same. So, in this particular case probably I just change this value. So, this can be say 60%, it can be any value. So, this difference between third and second is for 20% marks, and for this it is 15% marks. So, unless otherwise we have other value to support the rank, say for example, you are trying to measure this kind of rank for a particular race. So, for that particular race the first person like who won that particular competition maybe completed that race in 4 minute 20 seconds, the second one maybe 4 minute say 40 seconds, and then maybe third one is 8 minute to complete. So, in that case obvious with this rank we cannot identify the difference between the rank, and they may not be something which is meaningful. So, for ordinal scale we just want to measure the order, not that particular value or differences. Next we have the interval scale. In this particular scale numbers are used to rank the attribute such that the numerically equals distance on the scale represent the equal distance of the characteristics. Here we are having such sort of measurement between two values. It provides more powerful measurement than ordinal scale, because ordinal scale only can give you the order, not the intermediate value. It also incorporates the concept of equality of interval. This is a quantitative scale, other two, the nominal and then you have the ordinal, they were qualitative scale, but without a fixed or true zero value. Measurement cannot be done for the ratio. So, let us understand it with certain example. So, in this case if you say that in a particular region you have captured different temperature in different season. So, you record a temperature maybe in the summer it is 48 degrees Celsius, and winter it is something like 4 degrees Celsius, and in between it varies, say a comfortable one maybe you can say 20 degree Celsius. So, in such cases per degree change or the difference is possible. So, difference is possible in this particular case if you want to see the difference. So, this is plus 28 degree Celsius, and in this case this is something where you can see the difference between 4 degree to 20 degree, it is plus 16 degree Celsius. So, it is giving you some sort of feeling of the temperature. This is definitely referred to a cold one, this is moderate, and this is really hot. Now, if you take this cold, moderate and hot just as a qualitative data, so it will transform to a nominal measurement, but here we are representing it with the temperature. So, the interval is there. So, you can have equal intervals, so 1 degree change and all. So, this is something that change is possible, but in such cases this ratio is not possible. So, that means we cannot say that 48 degree divided by 20. So, this particular value, so here the value will be 2.4 times. So, this 2.4 times higher, this we cannot say in case of temperature, because it is not meaningful, right. So, like maybe just in order to do the calculation you may find out something, but this 2.4 is not possible. Say now the temperature is 10 degree maybe at night, and at daytime it is 20 degree, we cannot say that in daytime it is twice of the night time. So, those kind of estimation is not meaningful. Next is that here also we mentioned that the measurement without a true zero value. So, true zero value is something where 0 represent the absence of that attribute, that there is no such kind of value exists at 0. So, 0 as a starting point, because for temperature we can also have minus temperature, right. So, in this case we can have minus 16 degree temperature somewhere in the world. So, in such cases we do not have any true value. So, this is something called interval scale. Now, the ratio scale, it look like similar, but this represent the actual amount of variables. Ratio scales are definitely quantitative with fixed value and true zero value. Say for example, if I want to ask the age of a person, actual age. So, definitely 0 means there is no age, right. 0 age means that particular person is not born. So, the moment it is born, so it start from certain value, right, we can measure it like this. Height of a building, when you say it is 0, so that is at that level, and then you can increase or measure this particular height, okay, 3 meter or 4 meter. So, this is about the ratio. So, in this particular case 0 indicates certain kind of absence of that attribute, that is why the ratio scale is having a fixed or true zero value, which is not the case for the interval where the value possible even below 0. So, for the temperature and all. So, again taking example of temperature and the unit like Celsius and Fahrenheit. In both the cases we can have minus value, so they are in interval scale, but if you measured it in Kelvin, so 0 represent, this is something the absence of the thermal load. So, in such cases like the Kelvin scale is something which is the ratio scale. So, under temperature only, the depending on the measurement scale we have the variation. If a scale has all the features of an interval scale and there is a true 0 point, then it is called the ratio scale. So, that means between your interval and ratio, the difference is only with the true 0 value, and all such operation is possible because of this true 0 value. All the operations are possible with the ratio data. So, in this particular case, if it is age, say for example, a father is age of say now 40, and maybe that particular his son is at the age of now 8. So, we can always say the father age is 5 times than his son. So, this kind of thing, the ratio we can easily calculate, right. So, that is something is possible with the ratio scale. So, let us summarize this with one architectural example. So, here we want to use the scale for 3 historical architectural buildings, right. Say for example, of nominal scale where we want to just understand the architectural style. So, the building 1 is Dravidian style, building 2 Chalukya style, and then building 3 is Vijayanagara style. So, they are distinctly different architectural style. So, for that this is a example of nominal scale. Same example, but now our purpose is to understand the historical significance or the rank order. So, in such cases, by that particular means we have first Chalukya, second Vijayanagara and Dravidian. So, this is something you can decide upon the chronological, reverse chronological or such kind of criteria. Now, at the same time, like suppose you want to measure the temperature, which I already mentioned, that is the example of interval scale. So, indoor temperature within these buildings. So, where you can see the difference. Now, the ratio, that is the building height. So, in all these cases the building 1 is having 66 meter, this is 68.3 meter and this is 50.5 meter. So, out of this we can say that this particular building 2 is something where it is the highest among all these 3, and also like if you see the temperature, in that case that this building 1 the indoor temperature is low at a given particular weather. So, if some comparison to be made, so in the same platform you can measure it. This is something which will help you to understand about the label, nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio, they all are labeled. Like in such cases definitely male, female or something that you can measure. So, in ordinal also you can give a scale like this is I am very happy to, you can say that very sad. So, you can define it. For interval also you can give the value, like the value is for say you can start with 1 to 5, and ratio also you can do the same thing. Now, meaningful order. So, for this particular nominal scale there is no such kind of meaningful order required. Like if it is male female, we cannot say male is first, female is second, or this is some kind of black should be first and blue should be second. So, that is not there. For ordinal definitely it is order. So, if something is first, so that is better than the second one in terms of the positive intent. Like if we want to measure say dissatisfaction and something is ranked 1, so that means the number rank 1 is the thing which is most like associated with most dissatisfaction. Interval also we have the same thing, like we have to have that particular order, so that you can know that say 40 degrees Celsius is higher than 20 degree, minus 16 degrees lower than 0 degree. So, those kind of order interval is there, ratio is also same on that. Measurable difference, we cannot make any such kind of calculation apart from frequency. So, we cannot calculate the difference in terms of male female. Definitely we can do certain sort of measurement, but that is their perception which is captured maybe in other scale, like somebody is giving response in say 5 4 or somebody is giving in 2 3 in that order, but that is not nominal scale. So, for male female it is definitely not measurable, but interval and ratio we can do. 2 0 starting point, definitely for nominal ordinal it is not a point of concern because it is order and it is a category. For interval it is not. I have given you example of temperature where 0 degree, below 0 degree also there are certain kind of measurement possible. Ratio, yes, definitely we have a true 0 value. So, depending on the need you have to select. Now let us summarize it. So measurement is very important and integral part of your research design and research survey, and then it will also determine the interpretation, like the way you reach out to the respondent to collect information and how you analyze. Characteristics of measurement scale, like we discussed that part, that accuracy, and then maybe it should be like something interpretable and its practicality to be measured. Then we also discuss errors in measurement, normal errors that we do, that can be from the respondent side, can be through the instrument, it can be by the interviewer or the measurer, etc. We discuss the validity test and also the reliability test, and then also the type of measurement scale what we discussed. I guess it is very clear to you. So you have nominal scale, you have ordinal scale, you have interval, and then we have ratio. And for that, definitely this slide is very important for you to understand about the calculation. So accordingly you select the scale for your survey. In the same questionnaire you may have multiple scale, say for socio demographic, yeah, definitely in that case you have to use the nominal scale. For certain other measurement you may go for interval or ratio scale as well. So with that, I in this particular lecture here will move to our next lecture, which is part 2 of this, where we discussed about commonly used certain measurement scale with examples. Okay, so till then you can go through this kind of PPT, and if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you for joining.